Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Today's video, featuring Janissary here in the Japanese Tier 8 destroyer, the Akazuki, is one that I was conflicted about turning into a YouTube video. I actually mentioned this over a week ago. Some context for you. I've never seen somebody making such bad decisions get such a good result in World of Warships. And when I mentioned it, there were so many comments saying that you wanted to see it anyway, that, well, I thought long and hard about it and I decided I was going to do it. Janissary, if you're watching this, you probably are, please try to take this in the spirit in which it was intended. I mean, first of all, congratulations for getting such a good result, but it could have been so much better, if not for some of the decisions that you made. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is, as well as pointing out the things that you're doing well, because praise where praise is due, but I'm also going to be pointing out the things that you're doing wrong and explaining why what you're doing is wrong. And hopefully you'll be able to learn from it and have even better results than this in the future. And it is a pretty impressive result, which is what is so surprising. And also everyone else, I appreciate that when a video like this appears, there's bound to be a bit of a feeding frenzy in the comments section, but also try to take this in the spirit in which it's intended. And if you see things that you think could have been improved upon, then feel free to mention them in the comments. By that same token, if you think I'm being too critical, or if you think that I'm saying he's doing something wrong, and you don't agree, explain why in the comments, so everybody, myself included, can learn from this video. The first thing that I'm going to call out here, and this is just me being very picky, I admit, but Janissary is a mouse wheel scroller, and it is just incredibly annoying to watch. It's also not as efficient as using the shift key to zoom in, and then, if you need it, using the mouse wheel to fine-tune your zoom. But the first thing that I really have a major issue with is what he's doing here. So you just heard the Des Moines over there asking for his assistance in the cap to the south, and Janissary replied affirmative. I've got your back, Des Moines. And if you are in a destroyer, and you're contesting a cap circle, and there's clearly an enemy destroyer in there somewhere, there aren't many ships in the game better than a Des Moines to have your back. It has rapid-firing 8-inch guns that shred destroyers and cruisers alike, and it has radar. And so, why is he stopping here, outside of shooting range of absolutely everything, and then popping a smokescreen when he's not spotted instead of doing what he said he was going to do, and back up the Des Moines in the cap to the south? I mean, there are plenty of targets over there, but none of them are in shooting range. None of them can see him. So, why is he sitting stationary inside a smokescreen waiting for everything to come to him? Basically what he's doing here is completely wasting both his time and that charge of the smokescreen consumable. There's the enemy destroyer, spotted by the Des Moines, and admittedly the Des Moines probably doesn't actually need any help with a single destroyer. But it's not really the destroyer that the Des Moines needs to worry about here. It's everybody else shooting at him while he's visible from shooting at and being spotted by the destroyer. Luckily, the Des Moines did have plenty of backup in there from other sources, just not the backup that he asked for and Janissary agreed to provide. So the Des Moines' window of exposure after being spotted by and then killing that destroyer wasn't quite as long as it could have been. But more importantly for Janissary, he's just wasted a smokescreen for no purpose whatsoever, and he's given up the opportunity to get some extremely valuable capture points in the central cap down there to the south. Capture points, of course, are a fantastic source of both experience and credits. So it just seems a little weird. I mean, he's in a destroyer with a 6.4 kilometer surface detection range, which is vastly superior to that of a Des Moines. And so the logical thing to do, and the thing that he said he was going to do, would have been to assist the Des Moines in the cap, and instead he, well, didn't. And in the process wasted a charge on his smokescreen consumable. On the other hand, I do like that he waited for that Alaska to start backing up before launching the torpedoes from behind him, to ensure that he didn't accidentally torpedo a teammate. Now, it's possible that he deliberately grounded here in order to change direction rapidly, but I don't think that's actually what happened, because why does he need to change direction quickly? He's not spotted, he's still not in shooting range of anything, and nothing's shooting at him. And in fact, you'll see him backing up here, and then turning and accelerating in the direction of the enemy Thunderer over there in order to get him inside shooting range, something that he could easily have done without grounding himself on the island. So I think that was just a case of not really paying attention to what was going on. You can hear some quick commands going on there between the Alaska and the Georgia on the other side of the island, not in screenshot, asking for assistance with each other. The Alaska is using his hydro. And while the Thunderer might not be in shooting range, the Yamato over there very definitely is. Luckily for Janissary, despite misusing his smokescreen earlier, it's about to come off cooldown, and there it goes. And I do like to see him slowing down so he can stay inside the smokescreen and fire without being detected. Lost track of the number of times I've seen destroyers pop and smoke and then forgetting to slow down so that the smokescreen is a complete waste of time. But what's also a complete waste of time here is what he's about to do with his torpedoes. The Yamato has grounded. Janissary's torpedoes aren't ready to go, but he's wasting time here when he could be shooting at the Yamato, lining up a torpedo shot that isn't ready to go. Now he only has a couple of seconds to wait before the torpedoes are ready to go, but have a look at the rearming indicator before you waste your time. That, however, I'll admit again is a fairly trivial point. He only probably wasted 2 salvos from his 100mm guns waiting for torpedoes that weren't loaded to get ready. But what I really don't like here is the fact that the Grozavoy is spotted and he's not shooting him. I also don't like the fact that he has a torpedo reload booster. The Yamato is stationary because he's run aground and he's not using it on the Yamato and then shooting up the Grozavoy. He probably wouldn't have killed the Grozavoy because the Grozavoy wasn't really visible for that long, but if he had been shooting at the Grozavoy and used the torpedo reload booster, that Yamato would already be dead. And it would have been mostly down to his torpedoes, because he would have hit him with at least 4. And you can see the pitiful amount of damage that his 100mm guns are actually doing to the Yamato. Most of the damage that he's done to the Yamato with his guns has been from the fires that he's set. He would have done a lot more damage on the Grozavoy with the guns than he's currently doing on the Yamato. And he's still sitting there with an unused torpedo reload booster, and now the Yamato is starting to heal, and is firing blind into the smoke, and hitting him. This is all damage that he would not have sustained if he'd used the guns on the Grozavoy and used that torpedo reload booster on the Yamato. I mean, he's come out of it with 74,000 damage done, 75,000, but he would have probably... Well, he wouldn't have taken that hit because he wouldn't still be spotted, because the Yamato would be dead, he would have had the kill, and he would have probably earned double the amount of damage done, because he would have done most of the damage to the Yamato with his torpedoes, and he would also have given that Grozavoy a serious problem into the bargain. But instead, the Grozavoy is still roaming around with most of its health intact, and the Yamato isn't even dead yet. Poor decisions, missed opportunities. And here's another poor decision. The torpedoes have reloaded without using the torpedo reload booster, and now the Yamato is no longer stationary and grounded. He's showing the narrowest possible torpedo target, and does anybody really believe he's still going to be alive in the time it's going to take for those torpedoes to get there? So if Janissary needs those torpedoes for something that he might actually be able to hit with them in the next minute and a half, he's shit out of luck, and that Grozavoy that he failed to attack earlier has just sunk one of his teammates. Now, it's possible that the friendly Grozavoy that just sank to the enemy Grozavoy might have been killed by him, regardless of anything that Janissary did or didn't do, but it's also possible that he might not. On the other hand, this I do like. He's got the Ibuki in shooting range, and he's using multiple islands there to break line of sight so he can fire over them without being spotted. So this is all classic destroyer gunboat stuff, and it's good to see. Janissary, keep this up for as long as you like. This is all useful stuff. Enemy torpedoes spotted ahead, and he nearly torpedoed the Ibuki with the second set of torpedoes that he launched at the Yamato. Of course, he had no way of knowing at the time that the Ibuki was going to be there when he fired the torpedoes, but hey, happy little accidents. Unfortunately, the Ibuki, well, I don't know if he was running hydro, but he definitely didn't get hit by any of those torpedoes, although he's not going to make it out of here. He's gone down to the Alaska, and that was partially with Janissary's assistance, so this is good. What's not so good, and this isn't entirely Janissary's fault, but the Georgia there, who's not just being shot at by the enemy Thunderer, he's also getting farmed by the Grozavoy from a smoke screen up ahead. Yep, it's the same Grozavoy who just sank a friendly Grozavoy and didn't get shot at by Janissary when he had the opportunity. There he is. Janissary has him targeted, but he's not shooting. He set a fire on the Thunderer. The Grozavoy, his smoke screen is expiring, and Janissary is not shooting at him. This I do have a bit more sympathy with, because that friendly Georgia is not going to last much longer. Right now he's the priority target for all 3 of these enemy ships, but a destroyer that gets spotted would probably be the next priority target, especially since he's in open water here. So rather than shooting at the Grozavoy, he launches torpedoes at the Iowa. Then he pops his smoke again, but he's still not shooting at the Grozavoy, even though now he can fire undetected because he's sitting inside a smoke screen. But again, instead of shooting at the Grozavoy, who's slipping off to the side of the screen there with half of his health remaining, he's shooting at the Iowa. Now he uses the torpedo reload booster, and I really don't like this for all kinds of reasons, because if that friendly Georgia survives the next 5 seconds, he's going to run into those torpedoes. And in order to not run into those torpedoes, he's going to have to turn, and that's going to mean giving broadside to all of the enemy ships shooting at him. So that's a problem for the friendly Georgia. Also, if he'd used the torpedo reload booster immediately he'd fired the first set of torpedoes at the Iowa, he would have probably hit him with more than one. But instead, he used the torpedo reload booster at the same point where the Iowa had already spotted his first set of torpedoes and was changing course. So none of that second spread of torpedoes are going to hit the Iowa. Also, the Grozavoy is still alive. Now, while I obviously can't state that this is a 100% guaranteed, categorical, no bullshit fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that that Grozavoy would be dead by now if, instead of firing his guns at heavily armoured battleships, he'd been firing them at the Grozavoy instead on the 2 occasions now where he had the chance. Or, again, maybe I'm being too critical, because the Grozavoy is no longer a threat to him, the Iowa is, so perhaps focusing the Iowa down first was the right thing to do. But he's now got less than 10 seconds left on his smoke screen, and here comes the Thunderer. Again, he does something here that I like, and then he does something that I really don't like. So, the smoke screen's gone, he's been spotted by the Thunderer. He immediately starts accelerating. I would have preferred to see him using the engine boost here, but at the same time, even though the Thunderer is swinging around to try and get his guns pointed towards him, he's still, while not the fastest destroyer in the world, he's a bit faster than the Thunderer and is going to be able to outturn his guns. But then he does this. He stops shooting. No. No. You're never going to get a torpedo off at the Thunderer, and if you'd kept shooting, he'd be dead by now. Oh no, keep shooting him. The torpedoes are not going to work. Look at the damage that you're taking. Look at the guns that are being knocked out because you stopped shooting the Thunderer and kept trying to get a torpedo hit off. And just to add insult to injury, one of his teammates in chat is commenting on just how annoying that enemy Grozavoy is being. Which one's that, Janissary? I really hope it's not the one that you've let live on 2 separate occasions now. But Janissary, I hope you can see why what you just did against the Thunderer, even though you got the kill, and what you did earlier against the Yamato were not good. I hope I'm explaining it well enough so that you can understand it, because these aren't particularly egregious errors of judgment. I mean, they're the kind of things that I see people doing all the time. But they're the kind of mistakes that are very, very easy to fix, but only if you realise that they're mistakes, and hopefully having it pointed out like this is going to be helpful. What I do like to see is that he stopped shooting and he stayed inside the cap circle, because this is the last cap circle that the enemy team hold. And this I also like. Not just that he's using torpedoes instead of shooting at the Richelieu and giving his position away, so he clearly knows when to use the guns and when to use the torpedoes, but he's also finally using the torpedo reload booster under the best possible circumstances, when you absolutely definitely have to not only finish capping uninterrupted, but hit that Richelieu with as many torpedoes as you possibly can. I also like what he does next. I mean, he's initially keeping the island between himself and the Richelieu, but then he clears the island just in case the torpedoes don't do the job. And now, on the 3rd occasion in this battle, when he's got a choice between shooting at a battleship that he's already targeted with torpedoes or shooting at that Grozavoy, he shoots at the Grozavoy. And it was the right decision to make, because the torpedoes did sink the Richelieu. And while you may think that this is very risky, because he's got less health than the Grozavoy is not interested in getting into a shooting fight here, because Janissary isn't the only person shooting at him. I mean, it was a little risky, because the Grozavoy could have been an idiot and continued shooting instead of stealthing up, but if he'd done that, he would have died. So, yeah, it was a bit of a risk, but it was a calculated risk, and I think he made the right decision. The damage that he did to the Grozavoy there is going to go a long way to ensuring that the next time that Grozavoy gets spotted, he's not going to survive the encounter, and now he's going for the carrier in a destroyer on low health. Now, this is never anything that I recommend, but under the circumstances, he's been spotted by the carrier's aircraft anyway. He's being attacked by the carrier's aircraft anyway, so he didn't really have anything to lose by shooting at the carrier. And he's continuing the pursuit of the carrier. Normally I would recommend against this. If you're on this low health and you're going after a full health carrier, and the Shikaku was pretty much on full health, get the hell out of there, break contact. But he's so close, I don't think that's really an option. I mean, the turnaround time on the carrier's aircraft, he's only ever going to be unspotted for a couple of seconds, so if the carrier wants to kill him, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to get away and break contact. So while normally this would be suicidally risky, I think there are two very strong mitigating factors in his benefit. One I've already mentioned, he doesn't really have a lot of choice because he's so close to this enemy carrier, and also this carrier seems to suck. He's missed him with dive bombers, he's missed him with rocket attack planes, and of course the Akazuki's 100mm guns are actually very effective against a relatively thinly armoured target like a Shikaku. It's not like he's shooting at a battleship here. He's launched the torpedoes because he's got nothing better to fire them at, but he's doing so much damage to the Shikaku with his guns, it's either going to be dead before the torpedoes get there, or the team is going to reach 1,000 points and the match is going to end before the torpedoes get there. Well, I don't know, maybe the torpedoes are going to finish him off, because he stopped shooting again to look around. Yep, there it is. Oh well, it's not often I'm right, but I'm wrong again. So what can we say about that? Well, first I think we have to say congratulations for getting Witherer, Devastating Strike and High Caliber, because you did do 237,726 damage in that battle. You're obviously very pleased with that result, or you wouldn't have sent the battle in, and you absolutely should be pleased with that result. But at the same time, I hope you take this criticism as constructive criticism, because that's absolutely how it's intended. Because if you'd made different decisions at various points during the course of that battle, you could have had an even better result. And the thing is, if you don't even understand that you did anything wrong, there's no incentive for you to improve, because as far as you're concerned, you were doing the best that you possibly could. And I'd really like you to be doing even better than this, because you're definitely capable of it. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video. I hope that people maybe learned a thing or two from it. And I hope you're all going to be gentle on Janissary in the comments section. Because he's definitely not a bad player. But he could quite easily be a great one if he just sorts out his decision-making process. Anyway, that's it for today. I do hope you enjoyed it. Janissary, once again, congratulations on the result. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.